Today I'm going to be reading you the greatest mistakes that went right. And I saw this book in a bookshop called Dimmicks, and the title looked really interesting to me, especially because I noticed that there were mistakes in the title. So I looked at it and I thought to myself, well, it must be about making mistakes, but looking about how they came good. And so I thought, well, that's right up our alley here, because we are doing that sort of thing with our growth mindset. So here we go. The Greatest Mistakes That Went Right by Maddy and Cheryl Orsini. If we open it up to the inside, we can see that there's lots of paper with scribbles on it, and they're not always making the bin, but I'm guessing maybe that they're mistakes that they're chucking out. Over here we have a little message from our writers and illustrators. To the fabulous cousins on both sides. That was by Maddy and for Daryl and Olive, and that was from Cheryl. Here we go. Are you in a hurry to wonder and worry that new things you try won't go right? When they simply don't work, don't go all berserk. Mistakes can grow wings and take flight. Won't go to Brazil or learn a new skill for fear that you'll splat in a stew? If you stick with the known, don't try the trombone, you'll never find something brand new. Be scared of big snakes, but not silly mistakes. We love them, they're part of most days. When you're at a loss, don't get bothered and cross. There are other ways out of the maze. Take a look at the past and you'll see very fast that we've always been great at big blunders. The road can be rough on the way to great stuff, but it takes many mistakes to make wonders. That is a very big snake though. Although it looks like he's had an accident. Or she. They're painting on him over here. Oh, well, this doesn't look like a good idea though. Oh, I hope they've got some safety backup plans. I guess that's one way out of the maze. Consider Al Flemming in no way a lemming, nor was he particularly neat. A dish full of mould turned to medical gold. Penicillin, what a marvellous feat. So penicillin is a medication, and I'm guessing it's safe because I think they're feeding it to this child over here. What's interesting is this word here, eat, eat. It's got E-A-T as in to eat something at the end. So, you know, it's not how you spell the feet on the end of our legs. So this kind of feat, F-E-A-T, eat, is an achievement. So what a marvellous, what an amazing achievement. So penicillin must be something that we use all the time. Maybe we'll find out. Or Maria Ann Smith, an apple fan with a habit of sending cores flying. From a seed sprang a tree, fruit as good as can be. Granny Smiths are just so satisfying. I see from here she's been throwing out all her cores and they've been turning into trees, and now she has an apple grove. I've had Granny Smiths before, they're quite nice. I reckon here that make a very good apple pie. A Mr. R. James was not playing games when he de-shelved a spring with his pinky. But the spring took a step which had plenty of pep. Ta-da! James invented the slinky. Well, there you go. Just by taking off a spring off a shelf, he had a brand new idea with it. Now they're in all kinds of things, not just metal. Plastic and rainbow colours. A chemist named Perkin felt like a real gherkin when his malaria cure went astray. But the mix on the stove made a new colour, mauve, and the fashion world hollered, hooray! So it looks here like he was trying to make a cure for a disease called malaria, but instead it ended up making a brand new colour which they hadn't had at the time, and people were starting to wear it. Gosh, without this guy, I wouldn't be able to do my hair all these crazy colours. Garret A. Morgan got a much-needed chore done after seeing a terrible crash. "Stop and go's not enough," he said, his voice gruff. His new traffic light made a splash. I can imagine. Look at all these different kinds of transport. We've got horse and cart, got bicycles, we've got motor vehicles. This would be like the transition between all different kinds. You would need a new kind of stop sign. I can see here he's got a button. So maybe the button is to let the pedestrians go. Or maybe he created the other colour that we see in our traffic lights. Zufall was right and incredibly bright, and she probably shouted, "Whoa! This useless wall cleaner should change its demeanour. From now on, let's call it play-doh." Wow! So we had this wall cleaning stuff, and she went and thought about how else it could be used, and now it's play-doh. Although I can imagine the stuff in the play-doh, well, in the wall mix must have been safe. Or maybe she used it to make play-doh, and now it is safe for kids to use. Maybe we'll find out. That's very cool. And next through the hatch is Wilson Greatbatch, an inventor and clever risk-taker. He used the wrong part, caused a beat like a heart, a mistake that became the pacemaker. Wow, so without this new discovery, people wouldn't be able to have like pacemakers that help their heart work. That's crazy. See how each big blooper became super duper? And these ones are only a few. There are hundreds of others and more to discover. The only thing missing is you. Well, that's right, isn't it? Because if we don't keep making mistakes, we'll never learn and grow. And so we need people to make mistakes and learn new things. Which is good, because that's what we're at school to do, just learn new things. Oh, thank goodness. Here we go. We have all the information we need about each of those inventions. I might read that as a separate video so that you guys can hear it. Oh, and look, do you remember at the front? We had all this screwed up paper as in mistakes maybe. And over here they've decided, no, let's turn it into something else. Well, I'm very glad I got that book. I hope you enjoyed. Hi, I've just finished reading this book, and we noticed at the back of the book that it had all this great information about those inventions. And so I thought I would read them to you now so that you have the whole picture, you know, just in case you guys want to hear it and listen to it later. So, here we go. The greatest mistakes that went right. Penicillin, invented by Sir Alexander Flemming. Well, Sir means he must have been knighted, so it was a great achievement. In 1928, a scientist called Alexander Flemming set up an experiment before going on holiday. The experiment involved putting bacteria on Petri dishes. Unfortunately, Flemming didn't set the experiment up very carefully. When he came back from holiday, he found that one of the dishes had been contaminated by a weird-looking fungus. Even weirder, the fungus had killed most of the bacteria on the dish. Oops! But also, yay! Observing the invading fungus led Flemming to develop penicillin, the world's very first antibiotic. Antibiotics fight bacteria and have saved countless lives ever since by fighting infections in the body. Fun fact, the first name for penicillin was mold juice, which we think is much cooler and much easier to spell than penicillin. Granny Smith apples, created by Maria Ann Smith. In 1839, Maria Ann Smith and her husband moved from England to Australia. A few years later, they bought an apple orchard. There are a few different stories about how Smith created Granny Smith apple, but all the stories involve her being a bit untidy. In case you haven't noticed, we love stories about being messy that have happy endings. Our favourite version is that she tossed an apple core out of her kitchen window where a chance seedling grew. The new type of apple was sweet, crisp, and did not fall apart when cooked. Perfect for pies. Fun fact, all Granny Smith trees today are clones of that first accidental tree. So 1928 would be probably around the time of my grandpa. So if we go back even further, we're probably looking at my great-grandpa, great-great-grandpa, great-great-grandma. So quite a while ago for Granny Smith. The Slinky, invented by Richard T James. Richard James was a naval engineer in the 1940s. Naval being like boats. He was researching using metal springs to support instruments on ships so that they could safely wobble in rough seas. When James accidentally knocked one of the springs over, he watched as the spring stepped down onto a pile of books, then onto the table, then onto the floor, end over end. It then reformed itself and stood upright. He raced home to show his wife Betty, who came up with the name Slinky, because she thought that the way the spring moved was both sleek and graceful. It soon became the beloved toy that's still popular today. Fun confession, James probably didn't knock over the spring with his pinky finger. We just said that because pinky rhymes so well with slinky. The colour mauve, created by William Henry Perkin. In 1856, so this is a bit later than Granny Smith, William Henry Perkin, a very clever chemist, was trying to make something called quinine. I'm going to have to look that one up. Mistakes help me learn and grow. This is a chemical that helps treat malaria, a disease spread by mosquitoes that millions of people still contract today. Unfortunately, instead of making quinine, Perkin accidentally made a dirty brown sludge. Yuck. He would have to start all over. But as Perkin started cleaning the beakers with alcohol, the brown sludge suddenly turned a rich purple colour. It was so bright and beautiful. Before then, dyes had all been expensive as they were made with natural plants and mollusks. Perkin's chemical dye changed everything. And within a few years, even Queen Victoria was wearing mauve. Fun fact, Perkin was still a teenager when he made this excellent mistake. So I looked up the word, and in French it would be quinine, but I'm finding that other people pronounce it quinine or quinine, so there are a bunch of different ways it could be said. Three-way traffic lights invented by Garret A. Morgan. Garret A. Morgan, who was born in 1877, invented many things that improved the safety and lives of others. One of his most important inventions was a three-way traffic signal. Okay, in the olden days, roads were a crazy mix of pedestrians, bicycles, horse-drawn wagons, and over time, motor vehicles. We saw that in the pictures. It was very dangerous to have everyone sharing the same roads. Worse, traffic signals switched between stop and go without any pause in between. One day, Morgan witnessed a really terrible accident. This spurred him on to invent a new type of traffic signal, shaped like the letter T. His signal told drivers when to stop and when to go, but it also warned drivers when a change was coming so that they had time to slow down. This was quite revolutionary and saved a lot of lives. Fun but fairly obvious fact, the warning between stop and go is now the yellow traffic light. Play-doh, an idea by K Zufall. K Zufall's brother-in-law owned a company that made putty for cleaning off the soot of walls and houses with open fireplaces. The problem was, more and more people were getting electric heaters, which meant that there was less and less soot for people to clean off their walls. Business was bad. Well, obviously not for the electric heater people, I'm guessing for the putty cleaning people. Zufall, who was a kindergarten teacher, took one look at the squishy putty and just knew her kids would love playing with it. She suggested the company add bright colours to it and sell it as modelling clay. Excellent fact, Zufall even came up with the name play-doh, which first went on sale in 1956. We think play-doh is more catchy than putty for cleaning walls. That's also fun to play with. I think so too. The Pacemaker, invented by Greatbatch. Greatbatch, who was blessed with a terrific name when he was born in 1919, made a mistake when he was trying to create a machine that recorded heartbeats. He used the wrong electronic part, so instead of recording a heartbeat, his device made an electronic pulse. These pulses sounded a lot like heartbeats. Greatbatch quickly realised that his little mistake meant he had created a machine that could help with an unhealthy heart, so it stayed in rhythm. Before then, the pacemaker machines were bulky and painful. Greatbatch's machine was so small it fit easily into a person's chest. Heartwarming fact, pun intended. Today, millions of people still depend on this technology to manage their heart conditions.